You know, I can only imagine what Florida must have looked like thousands of years ago.
Oh, this is beautiful. You know, you see this, you know it's real, but it's still hard to get to just believe what you see is real. That's the part with the people when they come here. It's hard to believe it.
People still come here because of this beautiful river. You know, people have gone all over the world and never seen anything so amazing before.
The clear water of Silver River is fed by rainfall that soaks into the ground from an area of over 1,300 square miles. Well, you got 7 miles here of nothing on the banks of the river. You got a pristine river flowing all the time. The most beautiful place in the world. This is what blows people's mind when they ride that glass bottom boat at Silver Spring. They can look down, see the bottom, and see the fish. They can't believe it. They really can't believe it. It's amazing to me.
Wow. Whoa. Some of them open their mouth and can't close it.
I see it, but I cannot believe it. Clearest water I ever seen. May I touch it? Can I just touch it? The water changes every 2 minutes, all day long, all night. You are the first one to ride this beautiful water. They get a kick out of that.
Yeah, they tell them sometime this is new water. You know, yesterday this water might have been many miles away.
For years and years, Silver Springs has been known as Silver Springs, a family attraction, and kept as natural as possible. Carl Ray and Shorty Davison made Silver Springs one of the largest tourist attractions in the country. Now, we did filter in some exotic animals and trying to keep up with the times. The legendary Ross Allen brought in snakes and crocodiles from all over the world. It was at one time one of the largest reptile exhibits anywhere.
Oh yeah, Ross Hope trained me. He would come out on the boat and he would ride with us and he would tell us, you know, the people can absorb only so much. You don't want to just talk all the time. You want to give them a chance to talk among themselves. And we would be quiet and then he'd ride so far and say, well, now it's time for the captain to kick in and say something. So we would find something interesting along the shoreline to talk about and start back talking again.
But if you talk to the people when they start out of the gate, the thing they was interested in was this river, the clarity of the water, and the way that nature had been left alone.
Oh, I hope I see plenty of fish and turtles. People love those. That makes my job much easier. I mean, you can get their attention in a minute if you say, there's a turtle. Boy, everybody's looking.
And of course, you know, we have a variety of fish here. Some say 32, but I can't go to 32, so I'm gonna say a few. We have the bass, we have mullet, boarfin, sunfish, panfish. You catch a batch, I cook them, we'll call them fried fish.
This area that we're floating over now at the present time is what we used to call the old Catfish Hotel. It's where we had the football games between the Catfish and the Brim.
We'd wad up this big bread ball and put out there, and that's what we'd call a fish football game. And bluegill brim was the Army, and the blue catfish was the Navy, and the Navy always won. Put this big ball out there, and they bounce it around. Pretty soon a big catfish come get it, hold it in his mouth, and away he go. Well, I was always a lover of the fish. You know, that was my main thing. But there was times when there was more birds along the river, like limpkin cranes. We had a lot of those, and they would hatch out and have babies, and we lost those when they lost our apple snails. And now they look like the snail population is starting to come back a little bit, and I'm seeing 1 or 2 limpkins showing back up. That's a good thing.
This area of the river that we're sitting in now, this is what we always known on the river as the old original Tarzan location. That's back in the days when Johnny Weissmuller played Tarzan. The natural look of the swampland and this clear water is what attracted all of the film and television productions to Silver Springs. You see how big these trees are. If you notice, the cypress trees don't have any small limbs on them until they get almost to the very top. So years ago, one of these bigger cypress fell in the river, and one came down and was leaning over it. Well, Johnny Weissmuller, who played Tarzan back in those days, would come out of the swamp, run up on the tree, dive into the water, and then the underwater cameraman had a perfect shot in this clear water of Johnny swimming upstream against the current.
They most would love to see the big spring, the main spring, where they made all the movies, especially with Sea Hunt, Lloyd Bridges, and the statues on I Spy, you know, with Bill Cosby, the main spring.
I enjoyed the days when they was filming Sea Hunt with Lloyd Bridges. he was a real great guy. You know, sometime he'd come by the break room, say hello, and just an all-around guy. And he came back later on and did a commercial for us.
Glass spotter boats. They'll take you over the largest freshwater springs in the world. Just one more reason why you gotta visit Silver Springs. Look, did you see that?
First one I ever worked on was a sea hunt. A buddy of mine that worked here, Roy Carpenter, the company come in ahead of time and wanted divers. They were going to pay $100 a day for a diver. Back then, that was big money. And Roy, we didn't know how to dive, but we made our mind up we're going to teach ourselves how to dive, and we did. And they hired us. So that's the first one I worked on was sea hunt. Between television and the movies, I don't know, probably 75 to 100.
So many of them that I don't forget the name, a lot of them, but you know, with the James Bonds and Moonraker and Jackie Gleason and Smoking the Bandit.
Bring it on, brother! Are you sure you know what the hell you're doing?
I was here doing Smoking the Bandit Part 3, and they destroyed so much of the river at that time. You know, ABC said that's enough of that. You know, we won't be doing any shooting anymore. It was just the speed was just too excessive, you know, for this area, and it just destroyed a lot of the vegetation along the waterway.
The guy is a maniac!
I love them. I love the monkeys. Everybody likes to run them off, and I love them. The rhesus monkeys help make Silver Spring famous.
The old tale that they were left from the Tarzan movies, that's just what it is. It's an old tale. Because the rhesus monkey is not native to Africa, number one. So, and this is supposed to be where Tarzan was in Africa. If you look up the river from where we're sitting at now, you can see how the river comes down, makes a curve, sort of makes a circle around this body here. Well, this is what was originally named and called the Monkey Island. This is where the original rhesus monkeys was turned loose. And the idea of that was to have wild monkeys to be seen from the jungle cruise boats that ran from Silver Springs. The boat would come down also and go through, and the monkeys were supposed to be on this island. Well, we unloaded the monkeys, went back up the river a few yards to let them settle down, come back to check on them. We couldn't find the monkeys. Well, on our way back up, we seen the monkeys on the opposite side of the river, working their way up the river. Nobody had told us that the rhesus monkey could swim just as good as you and I can swim. And they had jumped in this little creek here, the river, and swimmed across and took off.
And you have people from all over the world come here daily looking for a monkey. And I mean, with all the trails that we have here in the park now, since it became a state park, you'll be surprised how those people will walk a couple of hours around here trying to spot a monkey. So you just never know what you're going to see. But when every guest comes to Silver Spring, pretty much is looking for an alligator.
Gator's an amazing thing to watch. Over the years, working with different film crews and then working with the Ross Allen Reptile Institute with Ross himself when he owned it, we did a lot of underwater stuff on filming alligators because Ross was well known for that, of course. With that membrane that they have over their eyes that they can roll it down when they're underwater where they don't get water in their eyes. And they can't see real good, of course. They'll be swimming along, they'll swim into a log, or they'll swim run into the camera lens a lot of times. And you get you somebody that's never worked with alligators and that gator come up and bumps that camera lens, he thinks he's in serious trouble. He don't know that alligator can't see it. He's gonna go around him or back off or whatever.
You know, really and truly, I've read, you know, where alligators only stay under the water approximately about an hour, but that's not true. Here at Silver Springs, I've seen them here half a day.
I have seen them about an hour. I made a couple of trips and come back and the alligator's still on the bottom, especially during the wintertime because the water's more warmer than outside.
Sometimes they're just there. And sometimes you'll see them every now and then, they'll try and get a fish.
I see alligators sometimes, they'll feed on those birds, and once in a while they'll feed on a turtle. They'll be real hungry before they eat a turtle.
And the gator's not going to just run up there and grab you to start with if you don't bother him. Now, if you get in his territory, especially a female when she's nesting, you better be able to run, because she's going to give you a run for your money.
She's not going to let anybody, even Dad, near her babies. I was trying to point out, I was driving Fort King, and I was just backed out from the dock going around Spider Monkey Island. And over on the right there on Shoreline, there was a mama with the babies, you know, and usually the baby's on the back. And I tried to get close enough so everybody could see, which was a mistake. Because when I got a little too close, Mama forgot about babies on the back and all. Now, she didn't jump on the boat, but she jumped behind the boat. And everybody back there near me was just as muddy as they could be. Scared me to death. Never try that again, okay? Don't ever try that. It's so exciting, you never know what you're going to see in the mornings. You know, we see wood ducks with the little babies, little chicklings, and we might see deer along the waterway.
We've seen bucks and does and young fawns. That's a beautiful sight also. People love that.
Both sides of this river, Silver River, is lots of white-tailed deer, lots of them. Some of the bucks get 8, 10, I've seen a few 13-point bucks. And some of them was a light fawn colored, some of them's a real dark brown color. And the ones that's the real dark brown, they're the ones that live mostly closer to the river swamp. They don't get as much sun and all as what the other deer gets. They're really a beautiful deer. Of course, the babies, when they're spotted, the fawns. In the fall, you'd be surprised how the white-tailed deer just love to fight, and when they fight, they just lock the antlers together and just twist and turn and fight for hours sometimes. Especially when he starts rutting, his neck will swell up, and then when he's mating season, he'll chase the does like all other animals do. He'll follow a certain doe for hours until the time's right. I mean, he don't give up. He just keeps on going. I've noticed in these woods, particularly around the Silver Springs area and the swamp area, that the deer are gradually starting to come back into the area. And I've noticed over the last 3 years, or maybe a little longer, that the herd is gradually coming back up, which that's a good thing that they're doing on both sides of this river. They don't allow any hunting of any kind, and the natural vegetation is coming back for the animals.
Really and truly, of all the years I've been here, it took me 40 years, guys, actually to see the first manatee. And in the last year and a half, I've seen over 15, which is very, very amazing. Very amazing. It's so different, and you really never know when you're going to see a manatee.
They'd been seen on the river back in the 50s and 40s, back in them days, but they weren't plentiful. It was very seldom. I understand now that they're seeing them quite often up and down the river, which is a great thing. I can remember the first time I ever saw one. He was sort of long, but big around. Had a head and had a big lip, I guess you'd say, sticking out over the front, you know? And I thought, my goodness alive, that's some kind of creature, you know? And then I was telling my dad about it, and he had seen them, you know, years before that too. And he said, well, they're called sea cows or manatees. He said they live mostly off of the hyacinths and bonnets and stuff along the river, and feed along the bottom of the river. But they probably get up 1,500, maybe 2,000 pounds. I know when I first saw one, how it surprised me. And I can imagine a young child now seeing a manatee. They would think it was an elephant that swims on the water or something, you know, the size of it and the color of it. But they're actually a neat looking animal.
Everybody looks forward for the manatees. Everybody jumps when the manatees come into the springs. And of course, me, I run and get everybody out their shops, you know. All of the cooks and everybody else want to see a manatee, so really we have a lot of excitement here on the boat dock sometimes. It's exciting for the guests, and of course it's always exciting for us. I have a lot of respect for Leon. Not only was he a supervisor, but Leon wouldn't ask you to do anything he wouldn't do. You know, if we were busy, if we had 22 boats on the waterway, 17, whatever we had out here, we was running short, Leon could come out the woods. He's a guy that liked the woods. So he was out looking for deer and goats and all this stuff, but he would come out the woods in his brogans, jeans, and jump right on the boat and help us till we got out of the wood, you know, out of the woods. I mean, we couldn't break the line.
I was born and raised on the Ocklawaha River, just below where the Silver River and the Ocklawaha River comes together. That's where we lived. Back in those days, Silver River and Ocklawaha River, a lot of people made their living off of the river, catching the big catfish, selling them to the fish markets, gigging or hand catching the bullfrogs, catching snakes, catching turtles, all of that. Because boy, back in them days, that Ocklawaha River was full of fish. Brim, catfish, especially big bass. Man, there's some bass coming up like 8, 10, 12-pound bass sometimes they bring back up to the landing. Silver River is 7 miles long. It goes into the Ocklawaha, then the Ocklawaha goes into the St. Johns, then the St. Johns goes into the Atlantic Ocean. You got to remember now, when the old boats run up the river, there was different places along the river that the boats would pull into, and the people would bring their vegetables, their crops from their farms to the river and load them on the boats. And then they'd go up, back, and take them all the way back to Jacksonville and sell them at the markets. It was definitely a livelihood for a lot of people. Of course, in the woods, you know, we could go out and hunt the wild hogs, hunt the turkey, hunt the deer. Back in those days, there was no houses or mobile homes or anything. It was all privately owned on both sides. And we used to hunt turkeys, especially over on the north side of the river, we would hunt turkeys. Spring gobbler season, that's when the turkeys are doing their strutting, doing the yakking, you know, talking to each other. I used to like going and just sit down and just listen to them talk back and forth. You get down there early in the mornings, turkeys like to roost up in the trees up high, especially over water. But they are one beautiful bird, especially during spring gobbling season. They're beautiful. Get that tail and spread it out. Oh, they're out of this world. But the main thing that we really enjoy hunting, of course, was the wild hogs. That's the best meat in the world, that wild hog.
If there was a captain to retire, you know, there were wild hogs always captured and cooked and roasted or however you, but he was just that type of fellow. I've just always liked working with Leon, I really did, always.
Well, you know, once again, working at Silver Springs, it don't matter whether it was black or whether it was white, that didn't have anything to do with it. We all worked as a family. And now that we're all getting older and we're starting to retire and go on our separate ways, there's about 4 of us that we call each other at least once a month and check in with each other to make sure that we're doing good. And we still, if we can, they need help, we help them. And they help us. The section here across in front of us that we're floating by now, this was Paradise Park. This was an area that Mr. Ray and Davison built years ago, back for the black folks to have the glass bottom boat ride, reptile shows, gift shop, and this whole front side here, this was the swimming beach. And there was a big platform that came out into the water that they could dive off of.
It was a good place. It was a beautiful park. As a matter of fact, Paradise Park blending in with the type of scenery we have better than Silver Springs does up here.
Yeah, for that part, it was more beautiful than up here. I'm serious. It was a beautiful part. You had everything you wanted.
There is hardly no black person you can talk to within 300-mile radius that didn't go to Paradise Park. Paradise Park was something to see. To us, like everybody came all over the world here to see Silver Springs, there were buses from all over the world that came to Paradise Park. Everybody looked forward to Labor Day because Labor Day was the day that they had the beauty contest. And you would have girls from all over Florida come in here to compete doing the beauty contest.
The pageant, the beauty pageant, the big Easter egg hunt on Monday. Oh man, it was something else. All the churches went there. You know, those people baptized down there on Easter, have all that going on. It was something. It was something.
You know, it is what it is. And I came up during those days, and we, as blacks, you know, if you didn't have, you didn't have. You know, we was able to really, really cope with whatever we had. You know, in Paradise Park was what we had, and we loved it.
At the present time, there's a canal between this land and the other land, but up on the hill, on the other side of the canal, that's where the gift shop was. That's where the reptile shows was put on. They had a big dance pavilion. They had a big barbecue place, volleyball courts, everything. And they had the glass bottom boats. They had the jungle cruise boats. and the reptile shows. All of it went on here, what they call Paradise Park.
You live with the times that you're in. You know, it wasn't a comfortable feeling, but that was the time that we was living in. So we just accepted that. But looking back on it, it wasn't a good thing because it had people divided.
Of course, I guess I really never really been bitter because I was taught to adapt to what I had. But to walk back there now to see what Paradise Park is like compared to what it was, yeah, it's devastating. It is really devastating.
You know, history is not always pretty. Sometimes it leaves scars.
Coming into Silver Springs my first day was very exciting because the eelgrass here in the river was just as green as any plant that you see along the river here at this time, which is springtime. You could back out from the #1 slip and you would drop off a ledge and you would drop from 17 to 31. And you know, by the time you said, "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a sheer drop here from 17 to 31. By the time you dropped off that ledge and put the boat in forward and came over the eelgrass was so pretty when the sun hit it, you couldn't say anything else.
When I first came here, we would advertise a 1-hour trip on the glass bottom. We would go way down about where Paradise Park used to be. And then we cut it to 45 minutes, and then from 45 minutes to 30 minutes. But mainly because of the scenery. We were seeing fewer fish and less wildlife and everything to keep the people engaged. So we started cutting it back the way we could halfway keep the people excited for the period of time that we had them out. I would say we start seeing more algae back in the 70s, late 60s, and it just kept growing. And the fish population start leaving us, you know, back in those days. If they can reverse the algae, I think that we'll be heading back upstream again. But if they don't get control of the algae, I think we're drifting downstream again.
I know that the things that my children and some of my children have enjoyed along the Silver River, my great-grands will never be able to enjoy. You know, with the algae along the waterway and the purity and the flow of the water now, you know, we have less flow than we had years ago. And coming in the door 44 years ago, the mainspring produced 550 million gallons every 24 hours. Now I've been told there's less than 400 million gallons of water is produced daily out of the mainspring. It's a bit scary. It's a bit scary.
This is the real Florida. And as long as we take care of it and look after it, it'll be here for our grandchildren and their children to see. But we're gonna have to wise up in some areas and look at what we're doing and start improving on what we're doing. Silver Springs was the #1, besides my wife and my church, #1. I love it.
My mother is passed and gone, but she always would tell me, said, "Son, I worry sometimes. I don't know what you'll do if they get rid of these glass bottom boats." She's dead and gone now, my mother. But she knew it's about all I ever did for many years.
This is my home. Silver Springs is my home. I spend more time here than I do at my house. There are mornings, you know, you might not be old enough yet where you go to Dragon a little bit, But once you move around and get here, boy, can't nothing stop you.
And it's every day it's something, it's different. You can come down here 7 days a week, which I've done years and years in a row, 7 days a week, all hours of the day, all hours of the night. It's never the same, never the same, always constantly different. You don't hear nothing but monkeys in the woods jumping from palm tree to palm tree, fish jumping, a frog croaking, bird chirping, or whatever, you know, things like that. And you can't get that any other place. And it's all natural. None of this is man-made, none of it. Look out and see all the big cypress knees, these big cypress trees that's hundreds and hundreds years old. There's no way to beat it, no way. I mean, all these doctors you want to talk about, go to and talk to, and they'll straighten you out and all this stuff, you know. You come out and take you a ride on Silver River or float down Silver River. You won't need a doctor. Everything will be clear. Your head will be washed plumb clean.